So we're here at the final 1,000 event of the season, the Paris Masters, the last tournament before the ATP Finals, or at least the last major tournament before the ATP Finals. Now, there are big names playing in this one, but also some big names have withdrawn due to injury and other reasons. Let's go have a look at who's not playing. So a pretty big withdrawal list, at least high-profile names. Starting with Novak Djokovic, he's not going to play. Draper, of course, is not playing. Feast is also pulled out. Paul, Rune, Tiafoe, and Tsitsipas have all withdrawn. So a lot of big names there, a lot of familiar names, a couple of former champions as well. So pretty disappointing that injuries have cut this tournament down a little bit, but there are still some big names playing. But let's go to the top of the draw. All right, so top of the draw, we've got 16 seeds in this one, and the top 8 seeds get a bye in the first round, starting with Alcaraz. World number 1, he gets a bye in the first round. He'll take on either Norrie or Baez in the second round. Then you've got a qualifier taking on Rinderknech. Nesh. Winner of that will take on either Vachereau or the number 14 seed Lehechka in the second round. Then you've got the number 9 seed Auger-Aliassime taking on a qualifier. Winner of that will take on either Muller or Nakashima in the second round. Then you've got Altmaier taking on Giron. Winner of that will take on the number 8 seed Casper Ruud in the second round. Pretty interesting draw. I wouldn't say it's easy for Alcaraz because there are some tricky opponents and inform opponents, but manageable. I think it's a manageable draw. Of course, you've got to watch over Alcaraz playing indoors in Europe for the first time this year and didn't play last week in Vienna or Basel. So let's see how he can adapt to these courts. Also got to watch over Ruud and FAA because both of those guys are looking to try and qualify for the ATP Finals, and this is the last chance that they can really try and catch Musetti, who is at number 8. So we'll see how they go. Also got to watch out for Lehechka. Hasn't been great lately, but we know how dangerous he can be, especially against Alcaraz. He can be a real problem the way that he plays, and actually beat Alcaraz early in the season. So really could be dangerous. But it's the two cousins that just made the final of Shanghai, Vachereau and Rinderknech. Of course, they're going to have the crowd support, and they're in Alcaraz's section as well. So maybe one of those guys could take Alcaraz on in the third round, and it could be really interesting. Next part of the draw, we've got the number 4 seed Fritz. He gets a bye in the first round. He'll take on either a qualifier or Atman in the second round. Then you've got Mute taking on another qualifier. Winner of that will take on either Poprin or the number 13 seed Bublik in the second round. Then you've got the number 10 seed Hashanov taking on Bonzi. Winner of that will take on either Shapovalov or Fonseca in the second round. Then you've got Greek Sport taking on Diallo. Winner of that will take on the number 6 seed Demonor in the second round. So, pretty interesting draw here. Of course, we're all focusing on Sinner and Alcaraz, but Fritz, he is also in this draw, and he hasn't played great at this tournament in the past, but there's an opportunity for him here to do something, potentially, have a bit of a run. Because you've got to watch out for Fritz. Still hasn't quite qualified for the ATP Finals, but with a good week here, he should be fine. Because you've got to watch out for Demonor as well, trying to qualify for the ATP Finals. And again, with a good week here, he might be able to secure that. Got to watch out for Hashanov as well. Has been very good here before. Won this title back in 2018, so definitely one to watch. Also got to watch out for Bublik. Lost to Sinner last week, but is a very dangerous player on earth surfaces. We know that. But the players that I'm interested to see play in the first round is Shapovalov and Fonseca. Now, they were playing last week in Basel. Shapovalov retired in the final set, so we didn't get to see the end of that match. So we get a rematch straight away. That should be really fun to see, that match. And the winner of that should play Hashanov in the second round, so we'll see how that kind of plays out. Bottom half of the draw now, we've got Musetti, the number 7 seed. He gets a bye in the first round. He'll take on either Sonigo or a qualifier in the second round. Then you've got Pirikar taking on Dimitrov. Winner of that will take on either Munar or the number 11 seed Medvedev in the second round. Then you've got the number 15 seed Fokina taking on Humbert. Winner of that will take on either Didiri or Cazot in the second round. Then you've got a qualifier taking on Karabali. Winner of that will take on the number 3 seed and defending champions Zverev in the second round. So, not an easy draw for Zverev. There are a lot of tough players in this draw for Sasha Zverev and trying to defend this title, and he has qualified for the ATP Finals, so there's no pressure there, but trying to defend the points to stay in that top 3 or top 5 for the rest of the season, it's going to be a must for him. Of course, you've got to watch out for Zverev. You've got to watch out for Musetti as well, trying to qualify for the ATP Finals. Hasn't quite done enough yet, but with a good week here, he should be fine. Also got to watch out for Medvedev. Won a title not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and has been looking pretty good the last few weeks. So maybe this is an opportunity for him to go on a bit of a run, but he's got a tough match in the first round and the first few rounds. Also got to watch out for Humbert, made the final, of course, last year, beating Alcaraz along the way, lost to Zverev in the final. We could get a rematch in the third round there. But also watch out for Dimitrov, back for the first time since getting injured at Wimbledon. Great to see Dimmy back for the last tournaments of the season. Hopefully he's fit enough to play and can put on a bit of a show, but really keen to see how Dimitrov looks after that really unlucky injury. And the bottom section of the draw, we've got the number 5 seed Shelton. He gets a bye in the first round. He'll take on either Kaboli or Mahach in the second round. Then you've got Tien taking on Borges. Winner of that will take on either a qualifier or Rublev, the 12th seed in the second round. Then you got the 16th seed Menchik taking on Cerundolo. Winner of that will take on either a qualifier or Kecmanovic in the second round. Then you got Mickelson taking on Bergs. Winner of that will take on the number 2 seed Sinner in the second round. Again, just kind of like Alcaraz's draw. It's some awkward matchups potentially for Sinner, but nothing that screams upset, at least on paper. But you got to watch out for Sinner. Didn't play this event last year, went straight to Turin and didn't bother really playing this tournament. Also played this tournament a couple years ago, had to retire midway through the event or withdraw because of the scheduling being really, really painful for him. So really keen to see how he does here. Also got to watch out for Shelton, trying to get into the form and try and qualify for the ATP finals. So really needs to get a couple of wins because since being injured and coming back, he's looked really rusty. Also got to watch out for Rublev and Menchik. Both of those guys very capable indoor hard courts, and we saw that with Rublev over the years, winning a lot of 500 events on indoor hard courts, but also Menchik trying to finish the season strong. But some of the unseeded players, obviously, you got to watch out for Kaboli, very dangerous player, having a very good year. Except for Mikkelsen as well, having a very good season, and would be interesting to see how he plays against Sinner in that second round potentially. And also Tien, another young player that I'd be watching out for in this draw as well. There it is. That is the draw for Paris, and it doesn't feel like, on paper at least, that Alcaraz and Sinner have too much trouble to meet again in another final. Of course, they've played so many finals this year, and they've been so unstoppable and so far away from everybody else. And without Djokovic in the draw, and being the real big threat, or at least the big, he's played those guys the most in these big kind of events, it doesn't really feel like there's too many threats. Of course, there could be a random, something random happen. Of course, somebody could play the match of their life and, beat one of those guys, unexpectedly. But they do have some tricky opponents, though. It's not going to be that easy for either of them. I wouldn't say they've got hard draw, but it's not going to be a walkthrough to the final. There are some guys you got to keep an eye on. But let me know in the comments below. Is it going to be Sinner versus Alcaraz in the final? Or do you think one of them is going to lose and somebody else is going to make the final in their place? If you think, maybe Fritz or Zverev or maybe one of the unseeded players can go on a bit of a run. But there it is. Paris Masters. Very important tournament to end the season. And it starts on Monday.